would a black woman touch my cup? Is there no hygiene standard here anymore?
A white woman cut in line. Fur coat. Sunglasses indoors. She slammed her bag on the counter.
Good morning, what can I get?
Find someone else. I don't want your hands touching anything I bring to my lips.
I'm the only one at the counter now, ma'am.
Only God knows what your hands have touched.
She turned to the man behind her and laughed.
With the prices they charge here, they should hire someone more suitable.
The barista's hands didn't tremble. She made the latte, slid it across the counter, and said nothing. Every morning, same woman, same cruelty, each time worse. Until she picked up Forbes magazine, and the face on the cover sent shivers down her spine. 5:15 in the morning, Brooklyn. Eden Underwood's apartment was small but intentional. Books stacked on every flat surface, a laptop open on the kitchen table, its screen glowing with investor dashboards and acquisition reports. A half-finished cup of green tea sat beside a leather notebook filled with handwritten notes. Her phone buzzed. A text from Terrence Cole, her COO. Day 6 today. You sure you want to keep going? She typed back without hesitation. I need to see everything, not just the good shifts. She closed the laptop, tied her hair back, and grabbed her jacket. No jewelry, no makeup, nothing that would give her away. The subway at 5:40 was a different world. Construction workers with steel-toe boots, nurses heading home after overnight shifts, a teenager asleep against the window with earbuds still in. Eden sat among them, invisible. Just another young woman heading to a job that started too early and paid too little. That was the point. 3 weeks ago, Bloom Collective, her company, her empire, built from nothing over 6 years, had finalized the acquisition of Hartwell & Company, a 12-location luxury cafe chain across Manhattan. The deal was signed. The paperwork was done. But the announcement was being held. Because Eden didn't buy businesses blind. Terrence had handed her the numbers. Revenue was strong. Margins were healthy. But the internal reports told a different story. Staff turnover at the Upper East Side location was triple the company average. 3 complaints about management in 6 months. 2 baristas quit without notice. Something was wrong inside that building, and spreadsheets couldn't tell her what. So she did what no one expected. She applied for an open barista position at the flagship store. Fake resume, real name. No one in that cafe had any idea that the woman tying an apron behind the counter had just signed the check that bought the entire chain. Terrence thought she was out of her mind. You're a CEO. You have people for this. My people gave me reports, she told him. Reports don't sweat. Reports don't cry in the break room. I need to see it with my own eyes. The train pulled into the 77th Street station. Eden climbed the stairs into the cold, gray morning air of the Upper East Side. The sidewalks were already alive. Doormen hosing down marble steps, dog walkers untangling leashes, black town cars idling at the curb. Hartwell & Company sat on the corner of Madison and 78th. Floor-to-ceiling windows, Italian marble countertops. The smell of fresh espresso and warm croissants hit you before you even opened the door. It looked like the kind of place that had everything figured out. It didn't. Samuel Watts, the store manager, was already inside. Mid-50s, thin smile, soft handshake. He ran the cafe with one rule: keep the wealthy happy, no matter what. If a customer yelled at a barista, Samuel's solution was to apologize to the customer. If someone made a complaint about a staff member, he didn't investigate. He just scheduled that person for fewer shifts. Eden had watched him closely for 5 days now. He wasn't cruel. He was worse. He was a coward dressed in politeness. The other baristas were mostly young, hardworking, underpaid. They liked Eden. She was calm, reliable, never complained. A 22-year-old named Jess once whispered to her during a rush, "You're like weirdly unshakable. What's your secret?" Eden just smiled. Good sleep. She didn't tell Jess that she'd been up until 1 in the morning reviewing quarterly projections. She didn't mention the conference call with Tokyo she'd taken at 4 a.m. from her bathroom so the sound wouldn't carry. By 6:30, the machines were humming. Steam hissed from the espresso wands. The display case was full. The morning light came through the tall windows and turned the marble gold. And then, at exactly 8 o'clock, the same time every day, never a minute late, a black SUV pulled up to the curb outside. The door opened. A pair of red-soled heels hit the pavement. Candace Thornton had arrived. Every barista behind the counter felt it, a shift in the air, like the temperature dropped 2 degrees the moment she walked through the door. Eden wiped down the counter, took a breath, and waited. Day 6 was about to begin. Day 6. Candace walked in like she owned the building. Her perfume arrived before she did, heavy, sweet, suffocating. She didn't wait in line. She never waited in line. She walked straight past 4 people and placed both hands flat on the counter. Her rings clicked against the marble. "I'll have my usual, and I shouldn't have to say it twice." Eden already had the order memorized. Oat milk latte, extra hot, 2 pumps vanilla, light foam, served in a ceramic cup, never paper. She started making it before Candace finished talking. Candace leaned on the counter and watched her like she was supervising a child doing homework wrong. "You know, I've been coming here for 3 years. They've never had someone like you behind the counter." Eden didn't look up. "Someone like me?" "Don't play dumb. You know exactly what I mean." Eden set the cup down gently. Perfect foam. Perfect temperature. "Your latte, ma'am?" Candace picked it up, took 1 sip, and pushed it back across the counter with 2 fingers, like it carried a disease. "It's bitter. Make it again." It wasn't bitter. Every other customer that morning had complimented the coffee. But Eden didn't argue. She poured it out, started fresh. Same recipe, same precision, same steady hands. Candace took the second cup, sipped it slowly, then tilted it over the trash can right in front of Eden and let the whole thing pour out. She didn't break eye contact. The liquid splashed against the plastic liner. The sound filled the silence of the entire room. Barely acceptable. Then she left. No tip, no thank you. Just the sharp click of heels on marble and the smell of that perfume hanging in the air like a bruise. That night, Eden sat cross-legged on her bed in Brooklyn and typed her daily report to Terrence. Day 6. Customers CT. Repeat pattern of verbal hostility directed exclusively at me. Manager present, no intervention, no documentation. Terrence replied in 30 seconds. "Come home. You've seen enough." Not yet. Day 8. The cafe was packed. Morning rush. Every table full. A line stretched out the door. Candace arrived at her usual time. She cut the line without a word. Nobody protested. They never did. Some people just carry an energy that tells everyone around them, don't. She stood at the counter and looked Eden up and down. Slowly, head to toe, then back again, like inspecting something on the bottom of her shoe. "Still here? I honestly thought you'd be gone by now. Most of your kind don't last long in places like this." Eden's jaw tightened. Just barely. Just for half a second. "Good morning. The usual?" "Are your hands clean?" "Yes, ma'am." "I mean really clean. I saw you touching the garbage bin earlier. And now you want to make my drink with those same hands? That is disgusting." "I sanitize between every task. Health code requires, I didn't ask for a lecture. Just make my drink and try not to contaminate it." A businessman at the nearest table looked up from his laptop. He heard everything. He looked at Eden. He looked at Candace. Then he quietly looked back at his screen, as if nothing had happened. Samuel Watts stood by the pastry case, rearranging croissants that didn't need rearranging. His back was half turned, but his shoulders were stiff. He heard every word. Eden made the drink. Perfect, once again. Handed it over. Candace took it without looking at her. Not a glance, not a nod, like receiving something from a vending machine. Day 10. This was the day things shifted from cruel to something much darker. Candace came in with a friend, a blonde woman in oversized sunglasses and a cashmere wrap. They stood at the counter together, and Candace spoke about Eden as if she wasn't standing right there, 3 feet away. See what I mean? This is what I deal with every morning. They put this girl on the counter and expect me to pretend everything is fine. The friend looked uncomfortable. Candace, maybe. No, look at her. Does she look like she belongs in a place like this, serving people like us? Please. Eden could hear every syllable. Her hands moved steadily, grinding beans, steaming milk, wiping the nozzle. She didn't look up. Candace leaned closer to her friend but didn't lower her voice, not even slightly. I swear, it's like a social experiment. Put a black girl in an Upper East Side cafe and see how long before the regulars stop coming. The friend said nothing. She stared at her phone. Eden placed 2 lattes on the counter. Your drinks are ready. Candace picked hers up, examined it like it might be poisoned, and turned to walk away. Then she stopped, turned back slowly. Oh, and sweetie, you missed a spot. She pointed at the counter. A spot that didn't exist. Maybe pay attention instead of eavesdropping on conversations that don't concern you. They walked out laughing. The glass door swung shut behind them. Eden wiped the invisible spot with a clean cloth. Her face showed nothing. But in the break room 20 minutes later, she stood at the sink alone and gripped the edge of the porcelain basin until her knuckles ached. The fluorescent light above her flickered once. She stared at her reflection in the small, cloudy mirror. She wasn't angry at Candace. She was angry at the room. 12 people sat in that cafe during these moments. 12 adults with ears and eyes and voices. Not one of them ever used any of it. She pulled out her phone and opened her notes. Day 10. Escalation. C.T. brought companion. Third-person references in earshot. Racial language fully explicit. Manager absent. No customer intervened. Bystander passivity deeply embedded. Day 12. Candace came in alone, again. But today, she was in a different kind of mood. Her eyes were red and raw. Her movements were sharp, impatient, reckless. She'd been checking her phone obsessively since she walked in, and whatever she saw on that screen made her face tighten like a clenched fist. Later, Eden would learn why. Gerald Ashford had been photographed at a charity gala the night before, with his wife, Renata Ashford, the actual wife. Smiling, holding his arm, wearing a diamond necklace that could fund a small school. Candace had seen those photos that morning. Candace, who owned nothing, whose apartment was in Gerald's name, whose credit cards belonged to Gerald, whose entire life was a lease agreement with no guaranteed renewal. And when a woman like Candace feels small, she finds someone smaller to crush. Hey, you. Eden looked up from the register. Good morning. Don't good morning me. I asked for oat milk last time and you gave me regular. I was sick for 2 days because of you. That was a lie. Eden had triple-checked the milk that day. She always did. I'm sorry to hear that. I'll make sure. Sorry doesn't fix anything. Maybe you shouldn't be handling food at all. Have you even been tested for anything? You don't exactly come from the cleanest background, do you? The cafe went dead silent. Every conversation stopped at once. A spoon clinked against a saucer near the window. and then even that went quiet. A mother with a stroller near the door pulled her child closer. A young woman in a business suit pretended to scroll her phone. Samuel appeared from the back room, assessed the scene in 2 seconds, and walked over. Not to Candace, but to Eden. "Eden, why don't you take a quick break? I'll cover the counter." That was his answer. Remove the target, protect the attacker. Eden untied her apron, walked to the back without a word, sat on a cold plastic chair beside the mop bucket in the storage room. The fluorescent light buzzed above her head like a trapped insect. She wasn't surprised. She'd seen this exact pattern described in the internal complaints she'd read before going undercover. When a customer causes trouble, the employee gets pulled off the floor, never the customer. That was Hartwell & Company's real operating policy, the one that never made it into any official handbook. She typed to Terrence, "Manager response confirmed. Remove staff to protect aggressive customer. Pattern matches all prior complaint reports. This location needs full restructure from leadership down." Terrence typed back one line, "Say the word and I'll have legal send the restructure memo tonight." Eden stared at the message for a long time. The light buzzed above her. "Not yet. I need them to show me everything." She tied her apron back on and walked out to the counter. Candace was gone. Her cup sat abandoned on the table, lipstick on the rim, half finished. No tip. Not a single dollar. Again. Eden picked it up carefully, wiped the table until it was spotless, and got ready for tomorrow. Because tomorrow was always worse. Day 14. Candace had found a new game. She didn't just come alone anymore. She started bringing an audience. 2 women trailed behind her that morning, both white, both dressed like they'd walked off the same magazine page. They sat at the table closest to the counter, not because it had the best view, but because it had the best earshot. Candace stood at the register and stared at Eden for a long moment. Then she turned to her friends. "Watch this. Every single morning I have to deal with this." She turned back to Eden. "I want my usual. And this time, try to get it right. I know that's asking a lot." Eden's voice was steady. "Oat milk latte, extra hot, 2 pumps vanilla, light foam, ceramic cup." "Did I ask you to recite it? Just make it." Eden turned to the machine. The steam hissed. The milk foamed. Her hands moved with precision that came from years of discipline, not from making coffee, but from building something much larger while the world looked the other way. Candace leaned back toward her friends and didn't even try to whisper. "She's been here for 2 weeks, and she still can't get a simple drink right. I swear they hire these people just to meet some kind of quota." One friend laughed. The other shifted in her seat but said nothing. Eden placed the latte on the counter. "Your drink, ma'am." Candace took a sip and grimaced. "This is disgusting. It tastes like you made it with your feet. Start over." There was nothing wrong with the drink. Everyone behind that counter knew it. Jess, the 22-year-old barista at the pastry station, clenched her jaw so hard her teeth hurt. She looked at Samuel, waiting for him to say something. He didn't. Eden made it again. No protest. She placed the second cup on the counter. Candace sipped and shrugged. "Mediocre, but I guess that's the best you're capable of." She walked back to her friends. Their laughter floated across the cafe like smoke. Thin, toxic, impossible to escape. Other customers stared at their phones, their books, their laptops, anywhere but at Eden. A woman near the door caught Eden's eye for half a second, something that might have been sympathy, then looked away fast, as if eye contact was dangerous. Samuel Watts polished a glass behind the bar. He'd been standing there the entire time, close enough to hear everything, far enough to pretend he hadn't. That evening, Eden added a line to her report. Coworker Jay visibly distressed. Looked to manager for support. None given. Staff morale erosion in real time. Day 15. This was the day Candace crossed a line she couldn't uncross. The morning rush had died down. The cafe was half full. Eden was wiping the counter when she noticed Candace sitting at her usual table, phone raised, aimed directly at her. She was taking a photo. Not of the coffee, not of the pastry case, of Eden. Specifically of Eden on her hands and knees, wiping a spill near the base of the counter. Candace showed the photo to the friend beside her. They laughed. Candace typed something, slowly, carefully, like composing a masterpiece, and her friend leaned over to read the caption. More laughter, louder this time, the kind designed to be heard. Eden didn't know what the caption said, not yet, but Terrence did. That evening he called. His voice was tight. Someone in my network sent me a screenshot. Candace posted a photo of you on her private Instagram. You're on your knees cleaning. The caption says, and I'm quoting, "The help doing what the help does best. At least she knows her place." Silence on the line. Eden, that's enough. Pull out. We have more than enough to restructure. Eden sat on the edge of her bed, jaw set, eyes dry. Who saw the screenshot? It's been shared in at least 2 group chats. Someone screenshotted the original post with the timestamp and her username visible. Save everything. Already done. Eden, I'm serious. I need 3 more days. For what? Because I want to see what the manager does when it gets worse. I want to see if there's a single person in that building who will stand up. If there isn't, I need to know that before I take over. Terrence went quiet for a long moment. Then, 3 days. Not one more. Day 17. Candace was getting bolder. Whatever fear of consequences she might have once had was gone. The cafe had taught her, through silence, through compliance, through Samuel's spineless smiles, that she could do anything. She walked in and went straight to the counter. She didn't order. She just stood there, looking at Eden with an expression somewhere between boredom and contempt. You know what I find fascinating? How someone like you can stand there every morning and pretend this is normal. Pretend you belong here. Pretend we don't all see exactly what you are. Eden met her eyes. Would you like to order? I'm talking to you. Don't interrupt me. I'm here to take your order, ma'am. See, that's your problem. You think putting on an apron makes you equal to the people on this side of the counter. It doesn't. It never will. You're serving me because that's where you belong. And deep down, sweetheart, you know it. The words hung in the air. A mother 2 tables away covered her young daughter's ears. The little girl looked confused. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Children always do. Eden didn't blink. She didn't look away. Her hands rested flat on the counter. Oat milk latte? Candace slammed her palm on the marble. The sound cracked through the room like a gunshot. Every head turned. Are you deaf? I said I'm talking to you. Don't dismiss me with your little robot routine. Samuel appeared from the back. He saw Candace's face. He saw Eden motionless behind the counter. He walked over quickly. Is everything all right here, Ms. Thornton? No. Your employee has an attitude problem. She's rude, she's dismissive, and she makes me uncomfortable every time I walk in here. I spent a fortune in this place. I am your customer. 3 years I've been coming here. Samuel nodded quickly, too quickly. Then he turned to Eden. Eden, maybe you should take the back for a while. I'll handle the front. Eden looked at Samuel for 3 full seconds. She searched his face for something that looked like courage. Nothing. She untied her apron and walked to the back without a word. In the storage room, she typed one line to Terrence. Manager sided with aggressor again. Day 17. Pattern unbroken. Day 18. The last day. Candace arrived at 8 sharp. Alone. Smiling. That smile was the worst part of all. It meant she had something planned. She ordered her usual. Eden made it perfectly. She always did. Candace picked up the ceramic cup, examined it, sniffed it, held it up to the light, took the smallest sip. Then she set it down, looked Eden dead in the eyes, and slowly, deliberately, tilted the cup over the edge of the counter. The coffee poured onto Eden's hands, hot. Not scalding, but hot enough to sting. Hot enough to make her skin flush red. Hot enough for every nerve to fire at once. It splashed across her apron, soaked through to her stomach, dripped onto her shoes, and pooled on the floor. The smell of burnt milk and vanilla rose between them like something ruined. Candace held the cup steady until every last drop was gone. Then she set the empty cup down with a soft click. Oops, guess your hands are dirty again. The cafe froze completely. 14 people in that room. No one spoke. No one stood. A man in the far corner pulled out his phone and began recording. His hands were shaking. Samuel stood near the espresso machine. He opened his mouth, then closed it, then looked at the floor. Eden looked down at her hands. Coffee dripped from her fingers onto the tile. The heat faded, replaced by something colder. She watched the drops fall for what felt like a long time. She reached behind her back slowly, untied the apron, folded it with steady hands, set it on the counter. She looked at Candace one last time, directly, without anger, without fear. I think I've seen enough. She picked up her bag and walked straight out the front door. No shouting, no tears, just the quiet sound of footsteps on marble and the soft click of the glass door closing behind her. Outside, the morning air hit her face. Cold, clean. The noise of Madison Avenue rushed in. Cabs honking, heels clicking, a delivery truck rumbling past. The world kept moving. It always does. The cafe stayed silent for a long time after she left. Candace smirked and reached for a napkin. She checked her reflection in her phone screen and carefully adjusted her hair. She had no idea what she had just done. No idea who she had done it to. No idea that the woman who walked out that door owned the counter, the espresso machine, the building, and every single thing inside it. And no idea that in exactly 14 days, the whole world would know it too. 2 weeks later. The morning of November 12th started like any other Tuesday in Manhattan. Coffee shops opened, taxis honked, people rushed past newsstands without stopping. But on every newsstand, on every magazine rack, in every bookstore window from Soho to the Upper East Side, one face stared out from the cover of Forbes. Eden Underwood. The photograph was striking. She wore a tailored black blazer, no jewelry, no makeup tricks. Her arms were crossed. Her expression was calm. The same calm she wore behind the counter at Hartwell & Company, while coffee dripped from her fingers. The same calm she wore when Candace told her she didn't belong. The headline read, "The Quiet Disruptor: How Eden Underwood Built a $200 million Beauty Empire While Nobody Was Watching." The article ran 8 pages. It detailed how Eden had founded Bloom Collective at 23 with $1,200 and a laptop. How she had bootstrapped a clean beauty supply chain serving 36 states. How she had quietly closed partnerships with 3 of the country's largest retail chains. How her company had just completed a Series B round at $50 million. And buried in the 6th paragraph, the detail that would set the internet on fire. In her most unconventional move yet, Underwood spent 18 days working undercover as a barista at the flagship location of Hartwell and Company, the luxury cafe chain Bloom Collective acquired in a deal finalized last month. "I don't buy businesses from a boardroom," Underwood told Forbes. "I needed to stand where my employees stand. I needed to see what they see, feel what they feel, and understand what's broken before I try to fix it." The article didn't name Candace Thornton. It didn't need to. It described a pattern of targeted racial harassment from a regular customer and a management culture that prioritized revenue over the safety and dignity of its staff. It quoted Eden directly. "I watched a manager remove a black employee from the floor to protect the comfort of the person abusing her. That told me everything I needed to know about the leadership at that location." By noon, the article had been shared 400,000 times. By evening, it was trending in 12 countries. Everyone was talking about the CEO who went undercover and discovered exactly how broken her new company was. And then someone found the Instagram post. It didn't take long. Someone in Candace's social circle had screenshotted her original post weeks ago, the photo of Eden on her knees, the caption that read, "The help doing what the help does best." The screenshot still had Candace's username and timestamp visible. Within hours, the two images were side by side on every platform. On the left, Eden on her knees, mocked by a woman who thought she was nothing. On the right, that same woman on the Forbes cover, worth $200 million. Candace Thornton was at brunch when it hit her. She was sitting at a corner table with two friends at a restaurant on the Upper West Side. White tablecloth, mimosas half finished, sunlight coming through tall windows. She was laughing about something meaningless when one of her friends stopped scrolling and her face changed. The color left her cheeks slowly, like someone had pulled a plug. "Candace." "What?" Her friend turned the phone around. The Forbes cover filled the screen. Candace stared at it. Her mouth opened but nothing came out. She grabbed the phone with both hands, zoomed in on the face, and scrolled down to the article. Her eyes moved fast. Undercover, barista, Hartwell, 18 days, racial harassment, management failure. That can't be the same. It is. Candace's other friend was already looking at her own phone. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Candace, your Instagram post is everywhere. It's next to the Forbes cover. Everyone is sharing it." The mimosa glass in Candace's hand trembled. She set it down too hard. Champagne splashed across the white tablecloth. "Delete it. I need to delete it right now." "You already deleted your account. It doesn't matter. People screenshotted it weeks ago." Candace's phone rang. She looked at the screen. Gerald Ashford. She answered with shaking hands. Gerald didn't greet her. His voice was flat and cold, the voice of a man who had spent 40 years protecting his name and had no patience for anyone who threatened it. "My PR team called me 6 minutes ago. Your name is being connected to mine in every article about this story, every single one. Do you understand what that means?" "Gerald, I didn't know who she..." "I don't care what you didn't know. I care about what you did. And what you did is now on the front page of every website in this country, with my name attached to it like a stain." "I can fix this. Let me explain. We're done, Candace. I'll have someone collect your things from the apartment by Friday. The cards will be canceled tonight." The line went dead. Candace sat at that brunch table with a phone full of missed calls, a champagne stain spreading across white linen, and the sudden understanding that everything she had, the apartment, the car, the cards, the clothes, the tables at restaurants like this one, had never actually been hers. And now, even the borrowed version was gone. The internet moved fast, faster than Candace could delete, faster than she could hide, faster than she could call anyone who might still pick up. By the next morning, the side-by-side images, Eden on her knees in Candace's Instagram post, Eden standing tall on the Forbes cover, had been shared over 2 million times. Every major platform had it. Every news outlet picked it up. The headlines wrote themselves. Billionaire's mistress mocked Black Barista for weeks. Barista turned out to be her boss. She called her the Help. The Help owned the whole company. Forbes cover CEO endured 18 days of racial abuse from a customer at her own cafe. Hashtags erupted overnight. Baristas, waiters, hotel workers, and retail employees started posting their own stories. Moments they were humiliated by customers who saw their aprons and decided they were less than human. Eden's story had become a mirror. Hartwell and Company was dragged into the spotlight alongside Candace. Former employees came forward. 3 baristas who had quit the Upper East Side location gave interviews describing the same pattern: wealthy customers who abused staff, and a manager who did nothing except remove the employee from the floor. Samuel Watts was named in every account. His photograph circulated online. The cafe's Yelp page was flooded with 1-star reviews. Its Google rating dropped from 4.6 to 1.8 in a single day. The cafe issued a statement, 3 sentences long, using the phrase, "deeply committed to creating a safe environment," without once acknowledging what had happened. The internet tore it apart within the hour. Candace tried to reach Eden. She called the cafe, but Eden no longer worked there. She tried mutual acquaintances, but every door was closed. Nobody wanted their name near hers. So she apologized. Badly. A friend still willing to speak to her posted a statement on Candace's behalf, since Candace had deleted all her own accounts. It appeared on Instagram and was screenshotted immediately. "I want to sincerely apologize to anyone who was hurt by my actions. That is not who I am as a person. I was going through an incredibly difficult time in my personal life, and I took my frustrations out in ways that don't reflect my true character. I am committed to learning and growing from this experience." It was a textbook non-apology. Every line calculated to deflect rather than accept. Anyone who was hurt, instead of Eden's name. Not who I am, despite 18 straight days of evidence proving exactly who she was. Difficult time, as if personal problems justified pouring hot coffee on another woman's hands and calling her the Help. Commentators and influencers responded within hours. Reaction videos flooded YouTube and TikTok. People read the apology line by line and dismantled it word by word. One video, a young Black woman sitting in her car, calmly dissecting every sentence, got 11 million views in 2 days. She said, "That's not who I am. Ma'am, you did it every single day for almost 3 weeks. That is exactly who you are. That is the most who you are thing I've ever seen." Gerald Ashford's PR firm released a formal statement that same afternoon. 4 sentences, cold and precise. Mr. Ashford is aware of the recent reports involving Ms. Candace Thornton. Her behavior as described is reprehensible and entirely inconsistent with Mr. Ashford's personal and professional values. Mr. Ashford has no ongoing personal or business relationship with Ms. Thornton. He wishes Ms. Underwood well and has the utmost respect for the work she and Bloom Collective are doing. That was it. 40 years of a man's carefully built public image, protected in 4 sentences. Candace erased from his world with the cold efficiency of a press release. The apartment she had lived in for 3 years was in Gerald's name. The car she drove was leased through his company. The credit cards she used were extensions of his accounts. Within 72 hours of the Forbes cover dropping, every single one of those lifelines was severed. Candace Thornton, who had walked into Hartwell and Company every morning like she owned the city, now owned nothing. Not the apartment, not the car, not even the public narrative. The only thing left with her name on it was a screenshot that refused to stop spreading, and a voicemail from Eden's attorney formally requesting a meeting she could no longer afford to attend. The borrowed life was finally over. And what came next would be much worse. 3 weeks after the Forbes cover, Eden Underwood filed a civil lawsuit against Candace Thornton in Manhattan Superior Court. The charges were precise: harassment, defamation, invasion of privacy. The unauthorized photograph, posted publicly with a caption designed to humiliate, formed the backbone of the privacy claim. The 18 days of verbal abuse, witnessed by staff and customers, supported the harassment charge. And the caption itself, "The help doing what the help does best, at least she knows her place," was defamation in writing, aimed at a specific individual, published to an audience, and demonstrably false in every possible way. Eden's legal team didn't just file a complaint. They filed a narrative. The opening brief read less like a legal document and more like an indictment of a culture where wealth bought silence, where aprons made people invisible, and where skin color determined whether someone was treated as human. The lawsuit drew national attention within hours, not just because of the Forbes angle, but because it had become something larger. Every barista who had ever been screamed at and told to smile saw themselves in this case. Every Black professional assumed to be the help understood exactly what Eden endured. Naomi Griffin, the Forbes journalist, published a follow-up piece. She interviewed 6 former Hartwell employees, 4 of them people of color, who described a pattern of customer abuse that management ignored. One former barista told Griffin on the record, "I watched it happen to Eden every day. I wanted to scream, but I was 22 and needed the job." That's how they keep you quiet. The discovery phase of the lawsuit broke the case open. Candace's attorneys initially tried to argue that her behavior was rude, but not illegal, that being unkind to a service worker, while unfortunate, did not constitute actionable harassment. But discovery destroyed that defense before it could take shape. First, the video. The customer who had recorded the final incident, the coffee poured onto Eden's hands, provided the footage to Eden's legal team. It was 53 seconds long, clear audio, clear visual. You could see Candace tilting the cup deliberately. You could hear the splash. You could hear her voice saying, "Guess your hands are dirty again." And you could see 14 people sitting in frozen, absolute silence. The video was entered into evidence and aired on 3 major cable networks. 12 million people watched it in the first 48 hours. Then came Candace's phone records. During discovery, her attorneys were compelled to produce text messages relevant to the case. What emerged was devastating. Texts to friends joking about my morning entertainment at the cafe. A message describing Eden as the Black girl who thinks she can make coffee. A group chat where Candace sent the Instagram photo before posting it publicly with the message, "Watch me put this one in her place." Another text from the same week read, "She looked like she was about to cry today. Best Monday I've had in months." Each message was time-stamped. Each one was now permanently part of the court record. Then came Samuel Watts. Called as a witness during a deposition, Samuel admitted under oath that he was aware of Candace's behavior toward Eden and other staff members. He admitted that he had never documented a single complaint. He admitted that his standard response to customer aggression was to remove the employee, not confront the customer. When asked why, his answer was simple and damning. "She spent a lot of money here. I didn't want to lose the account." Eden's 18 daily reports, the ones she had sent to Terrence every night during her undercover evaluation, were entered into the record as contemporaneous documentation. Each report was dated, detailed, and consistent. They described specific incidents, named witnesses, and noted management failures in clinical, precise language. Together, they formed a paper trail that no defense attorney could dismantle. Candace's position collapsed. Without Gerald's money, she couldn't afford extended litigation. Her attorney advised settlement. Eden's legal team agreed, but with conditions that left no room for quiet resolution. The terms were made public. Candace Thornton was required to issue a formal written apology, not drafted by her, but reviewed and approved by Eden's attorneys to ensure it contained no deflection, no passive language, and no excuses. The apology was published in the same Forbes outlet that had run the cover story. She was required to pay a substantial financial settlement. The exact figure was sealed by the court, but legal analysts estimated it in the high six figures, enough to ensure Candace felt the weight of it for years. She was required to complete a certified anti-discrimination and cultural sensitivity program, 200 hours, verified by a third-party compliance firm, with quarterly progress reports submitted to the court for 18 months. And she was banned from all 12 Hartwell & Company locations, permanently. Separately, Hartwell & Company, now under Bloom Collective's ownership, settled its own liability. Samuel Watts was terminated. His termination letter, signed by Eden personally, cited sustained failure to protect employee welfare and deliberate prioritization of revenue over the physical and psychological safety of staff. The Upper East Side location was closed for 2 weeks for full operational restructuring. Every employee across all 12 locations was required to complete bystander intervention and anti-discrimination training. A new internal policy was implemented. Any customer engaging in abusive behavior would be asked to leave immediately, and any manager who failed to enforce this policy would face termination. Eden gave one interview after the settlement, just one. She sat down with Naomi Griffin in a quiet room with white walls and natural light. No makeup team, no publicist standing off camera, just Eden, a glass of water, and a journalist she trusted. "I didn't stay in that cafe to collect evidence," Eden said. "I didn't go in with a plan to catch anyone. I went in because I needed to understand what my employees experience every day. And what I found was a system that punishes the people at the bottom and protects the people at the top." Candace was cruel. There's no other word for it. But she didn't operate in a vacuum. She operated in a room full of silence. And that silence is what I'm trying to fix. Griffin asked if she felt the settlement was justice. Eden paused for a long time before answering. Justice isn't a settlement check. Justice is the next barista who gets screamed at by a customer and watches her manager walk over, not to her, but to the customer, and say, "You need to leave." That's justice. That's what I'm building toward. The interview was published the following Monday. It was shared 600,000 times in one day. 6 months later, Bloom Collective closed its Series B at $50 million and expanded into 12 new markets. Eden opened a flagship store in Brooklyn, 3 blocks from the apartment where she used to sit on her bed at 1 a.m, typing reports to Terrence while the rest of the city slept. She named her foundation the Diane Underwood Foundation, after her grandmother, the woman who once sat with her on a porch in North Carolina and told a teenage girl that the world would try to put a ceiling on her before she even stood up. The foundation provided free legal representation to service workers facing harassment and discrimination. In its first 6 months, it took on 200 cases across 14 states and partnered with labor rights organizations in 9 cities. Most callers said the same thing. "I didn't think anyone would believe me." Eden still made her own coffee every morning. French press. No milk, no sugar. She said it kept her honest. Candace Thornton moved out of Manhattan. She completed her 200 hours of court-mandated cultural sensitivity training. She paid the settlement in installments because there was no longer a billionaire writing checks on her behalf. The social circles that once welcomed her closed their doors without a word. No calls, no texts, no invitations. The women who had laughed with her at the cafe refused to return her messages. The restaurants where she once had reserved tables no longer recognized her name. The designer boutiques that had greeted her by first name now looked through her like glass. She learned, in the slowest and most painful way possible, what it felt like to be invisible. Not because of cruelty, but because of the exact same silence she had used against Eden for 18 straight days. The only difference was that no one was recording it. No one was writing reports. No one cared enough to document what was happening to Candace Thornton. And that, perhaps, was the loneliest kind of justice there is. Samuel Watts left the service industry without a word. No public statement, no interview, no apology. He quietly vanished from the world he had managed so poorly. The last anyone heard, he had taken a warehouse job in New Jersey. He never spoke about Hartwell & Company again. Nobody asked him to. Hartwell & Company, under Bloom Collective's leadership, became a national model for worker protection. The new employee handbook opened with a single line, printed in bold on the very first page. The dignity of our staff is not negotiable. Every location implemented a zero-tolerance policy for customer abuse. Every manager was trained in bystander intervention. Every employee was given a direct line to report harassment without fear of retaliation. A framed copy of Eden's Forbes cover hung behind the counter at the Upper East Side location. The new staff put it there themselves, not as a marketing tool, not as decoration, as a reminder of what happens when one person decides that silence is no longer acceptable. But here is what matters most about this story. Eden's success didn't begin when Forbes put her face on a magazine. It didn't start with the lawsuit, or the settlement, or the foundation. It started years before any of that, in a grandmother's living room with $1,200 and a second-hand laptop, built one quiet decision at a time, by a woman who decided that the world's opinion of her was never going to become her opinion of herself. The real twist wasn't that a barista turned out to be a CEO. The twist was that it took a magazine cover for people to treat her like a human being. She was the exact same person behind the counter that she was on that cover. Same hands, same mind, same calm, same worth. The only thing that changed was what other people knew about her. And that should make us deeply uncomfortable. Because if respect only shows up after someone reveals their title, their net worth, or their Forbes cover, then it was never respect at all. It was calculation. And calculation is not the same thing as decency. Eden didn't need a magazine to prove her value. She never did. The people who needed that magazine were the ones sitting in the cafe, staring at their phones, pretending nothing was happening. The ones who could have said something. The ones who chose their silence every single day.
You know what nobody talks about? It wasn't one cruel woman who was proclaimed. It was 14 people sitting in that room who let her be cruel every single day for 18 days. 14 others with ears, eyes, and a voice, and not one of them opened their mouth. One cruel person can only do so much damage alone, but a room full of people who watch it happen and say nothing, that's where real damage comes from. The silence, the looking away, the pretending you didn't hear it. That's what makes cruelty possible, not the person doing it, the people allowing it. So next time you are in that room and you will be that room, don't be the 14, be the one who says that's enough, even if your voice shakes, even if nobody joins you, because one voice is all it takes to break the silence. And the silence, once it breaks, never goes back together the same way. Like, share and subscribe Real Stories, visit this every week. And remember, cruelty needs an audience to survive. Don't give it one.